Hello, I'm Charlotte Cohen and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Friday the 6th of February. And it's Scottish Cup 5th round time.
And the referee blows for full times! The boos from the Celtic supporters completely overdone and outdone by the St Mirren fans!
St Mirren have already lifted the League Cup, but are they on their way to Hampden again? In-form Motherwell are heading to Pittodrie to face Aberdeen, still on the hunt for a manager.
Now that the window's shut, I would expect them to try and get someone in as quick as possible, but pretty soon to start planning for next season. Because it's been a season for Aberdeen that, to be honest, it's not been good enough for them.
Can the cup holders salvage something from a disappointing season? And can Queen's Park recreate one of the great cup upsets as they travel to Ibrox again?
It's over! It is one of the biggest Scottish Cup upsets! Queen's Park have come to Ibrox and beaten their big Glasgow neighbours.
We'll fill you in on a massive weekend of cup action.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
And alongside me to do that this morning, Hibs legend, Hibs women head coach, Hibs daft, Joelle Murray.
Morning, Charlotte. What an intro. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And alongside us to chat all things Scottish Cup, Ryan Flynn. Ryan, good morning. You excited for this weekend?
Good morning. Yes, I am. Obviously disappointed myself not to be still in the competition, but it always delivers good ties and good games. So now looking forward to this weekend's fixtures.
Means we get you to talk about it all on here, so every cloud. Well, let's start on Friday night. Tonight, Airdrie hosting St Mirren. Ryan, Airdrie had kind of had a tricky start. They seem to have picked up a little bit. Do you see this being a potential chance for an upset?
Of course, especially being drawn at home. We had Airdrie in the last round. Of course, they had a difficult start to the season, but it's totally changed around. Aaron Taylor-Sinclair deserves so much credit for the way he's turned it around there. And it's not just through grit and determination. They play some lovely stuff as well. For me, Dean McMaster in the middle of the park, I feel he really makes them tick. And then it's not just all very predictable in front of your football. If you go and press them high, they'll go in behind you, and Ewan Henderson up front has got real pace and can really punish you at the top end of the park. So they've got threats, they've got a style of play, and they've got a real togetherness that they're all backing each other. We've had recently been knocked out of 2 cup competitions, run us close, and then it's went to penalty shootouts, and they've came out on top both times. So you're talking cup shocks. They're at home, could go all the way to penalties, and I'm sure they'd fancy themselves.
See, when you've been put out by someone in the cup, are you rooting for them in the next round, or are you like, I want you to suffer?
I'm probably playing against St Mirren, so I'm a little bit biased here, so maybe want them to head out. But no, I mean, it's difficult. There's a few players that you sort of know playing against them, and you want everyone to do well, but I feel Friday night could be a special game of football, and hopefully some goals to watch.
Well, what about St Mirren, Joelle? Because they've been, since the League Cup, they've just been on this downward trajectory, but they finally pick up with that win against Hearts. They beat Hearts, who were down to 10 men, which they failed to do earlier on. Last time Hearts were down to 10 men. They've got to build on that now, surely.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Like you said, they've not picked up the run of form that probably they would have hoped to do on the back of that cup win, using that as a springboard. But I think one win in the last 6 league games, that being, like you said, against Hearts midweek. Hearts been down to 10 players, and that Freckleton 88-minute winner was the difference. So they'll be looking to really build on that. But I don't think it'll be an easy game tonight. I think that's why the cameras are there tonight. So yeah, I think it'll be a very competitive, exciting Friday night game of football under the lights.
Well, yep, as Joelle says, the TV cameras are there, so you can watch Airdrie v St Mirren on BBC One Scotland from 7:30 this evening. Right, well, let's take a look at to Saturday's ties. Celtic hosting Dundee. This is looking like an interesting one, Ryan, because it seems as though the home fans are planning a boycott for this game. What kind of impact do you think that's going to have on the pitch?
I mean, thinking back to the COVID times when fans weren't in the stadium, it definitely has a massive effect, especially on the big clubs. They can definitely use their home fans, especially the Celtic fans, to their advantage. And obviously, they're coming out and they're trying to stop that happening, saying they're going to speak, which is really important. But probably on the field, there's so much turmoil off the field. If you want somebody at the helm and really steering you through that tough terrain, it's Martin O'Neill. His first stint, one defeat out of the 8 games, winning 7 of them, and then he's came back in again. It's incredible, really. So much, everybody's unsettled, the media attention around it, but on the pitch, they just deliver and deliver again. I probably see Celtic, they'll probably go through comfortable in the end. They're at home. It's going to be a difficult task for Dundee. Celtic have so much quality, even though there's complaints about the transfer windows. They've still got enough quality within that squad to really turn up against Dundee. And then it's obviously interesting that they've signed as Stephen Presley was saying, Benji Arthur, putting no pressure on the player, but then linking him to the next Virgil van Dijk, which I thought was interesting. So, no, it'll be an interesting game, whether he plays or not, whether he's trying to put some pressure on a young player that's potentially going to play. It'll be I think it could be a comfortable victory in the end, but yeah, a lot of unsettlement around Celtic, but Martin O'Neill at the helm, he seems to deliver time and time again.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Arthur actually described himself as, he said in his interview that people have said he has a similar style to Van Dijk. So not quite saying he was like Van Dijk, but saying people say I'm like Van Dijk. So it'll be interesting to see if he's thrown in. Another one, Joelle, just speaking on the transfer window, Oxlade-Chamberlain is a name that's floating around, former Liverpool, former Arsenal Champions League winner, Premier League winner. If they can get that over the line, do you think that's a good bit of business? He's obviously struggled with injuries massively. It seems like the chat is an initial 6 months with an option for a further year. But what do you make of that for Celtic?
Yeah, I think, like you touched upon there, Charlotte, I think he's had injuries, some significant across his career. However, a fit Oxlade-Chamberlain, the quality that he would bring, the experience, he's played at the top level for top clubs across the game. So I think if Celtic get that business done, it's a really good bit of business. Don't think it'll paper over the cracks. I think the fans will still be very much frustrated about this transfer window and previous transfer windows, but certainly that will be a signing that should hopefully appease the situation somewhat, because, like I said, a player at the top of his game, a very, very good quality player that would come into a good Celtic side and certainly enhance it.
Yeah, appeases the problem until he turns out to be rubbish, and then everyone kicks off, or he's injured, or he's not fit or something, and everybody kicks off again. But just speaking of transfer window, Dundee have had a pretty decent transfer window. They'll probably be going into this Celtic game in a bit of a stronger position. Ryan, Scott Wright in particular, one of the big names that they've brought in, he'll be a massive asset to them, won't he?
He is. He's a player I played against when he was initially on loan a few years ago. Played with real quality. I like that he's coming up and it's after a serious injury. Obviously, he was talking about an ACL injury that he had at Birmingham, looking to bounce back from that, get some minutes, and then he was talking about Stephen Presley, how he plays with wingers, and it's attacking football when he can play. They've had so much joy in the attacking areas against Celtic, funny enough. So can Scott Wright get up to speed, get the minutes early, and he'll be looking to get his teeth stuck right into the big games. That's why he's come up the road. That's why he's come to play. So yeah, it's definitely an astute signing from Stephen Presley, and one I'm looking forward to actually watching.
Yeah, I imagine he'll probably, if he's fit, get a run out at the weekend at some stage. Well, Elsewhere, we've also got another all-Premiership tie, Aberdeen against Motherwell. Aberdeen are getting closer to a new manager. It had been a bit quiet on that front, but they seem to have picked up. They're closing in allegedly on Eric Hornland, was at San Etienne. Don's Joelle going Scandinavian again. Do you think that's a risk? Do you think they maybe should have been looking a bit closer to home? I know a lot of fans were probably hoping for somebody who knows Scottish football quite well.
Yeah, I've mentioned it on the podcast before. I think if I was an Aberdeen fan, given the situation they've been in, the turnover of managers recently, I think I'd be looking for a manager that had that experience and knowledge within the Scottish game. However, you'd like to think the length of time this is went on, the diligence and their work, they'll be really hoping and looking for the right person for the job. So you'd like to think, as I say, the length of time that this has taken, whomever comes in, they'll have certainly done a significant amount of homework. But like I said, if I was an Aberdeen fan, I'd be looking for a manager closer to home, a manager potentially within the league doing well, or someone that's been in the league and done well and knows the Scottish game, because I think there's been, as I say, a lot of turnover in that head coach position on the pitch, and certainly a lot of positions on the pitch. But yeah, I think it'll be a big one when it gets announced.
I know, it'll be interesting to see how the fans react to it. The other thing about Aberdeen was their game against Celtic postponed, waterlogged pitch. If the game goes ahead, Ryan, how's that going to affect Motherwell? I mean, they'll have had to have got the pitch back up to scratch, but it's not going to be perfect, is it?
Yeah, of course it won't be. I think the way Motherwell season, the free-flowing football, the plaudits they're getting, one of the biggest things that sort of goes under the radar with Motherwell is their defensive record is incredible in the league. So they're going to be a hard team to beat regardless. They've obviously got the threats at the top end of the pitch. They've got some lovely footballers and and Mazvanisi up front. I think they cause teams so many problems. But I think there needs to be credit to those at the back line. Obviously Welsh went missing for a period, had to go back to Celtic. They've got him back in the building. But Paul McGinnon, Stephen O'Donnell, I think they deserve huge credit. And Motherwell are a really impressive side. Askew deserves so much credit for the way he's built that side. Again, as I've said, it's the plaudits for the football and the style, but they've got that steely edge to them. So no, I think whatever they'll get thrown at tonight, they'll deal with that.
Was the steely edge an intentional pun?
It wasn't actually.
It was good. Elsewhere, we've got Fife Derby, Dunfermline hosting Kelty. Joelle, Dunfermline obviously overcoming Hibs in the last round. They'll probably be thinking, we've beaten a Premiership opponent, we can beat anyone now.
They absolutely will be. I think in Neil Lennon, a manager that doesn't take no for an answer. He'll have instilled a belief in that squad, like you said, Charlotte, that they can go on and beat anyone. I thought it was a fantastic display against Hibs at East End Park, in and out of possession, and then they took their chance and got the cup progression. So I think it'll be a different game this round for them, but one that I would expect them to progress. So yeah, a team under Neil Lennon with a lot of good players. Obviously they've signed Graham Carey on loan now from Livingston as well, adding a lot of quality and experience into the mix there. But yeah, I would certainly expect a Dunfermline Cup progression in this one.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see this weekend. And Dundee United at home to Spartans. Ryan, obviously Jim Goodwin's side have been finding it really, really difficult to pick up results recently. This could be a good chance for them to reset things, pick up a win, progress in the cup. Or, I mean, the alternative is things look even worse.
Exactly that, Charlotte. I think 2026 has not been good so far for Jim Goodwin's side. He'll definitely be feeling the pressure, the way games have been going. That sickener at Easter Road recently, a couple of poor performances against Hearts, a lot of ill discipline in there. Jim Goodwin will just be looking for, can it be a 2-0, 3-0, no drama, through to the next round, and then get ready for the next midweek fixture. But if you're Spartans, you're going to try and feed off that. Can you get the crowd involved? Can you get them frustrated? Can we get to 15 minutes? Can we get to 20 minutes just to be in the game? Spartans are top of the league. They've got confidence. They've got the top assist in Mark McNulty. Up front, ex-Dundee United, can he go back to haunt his old club? There's a little bit of feel. I feel that's one that could be a cup shock. It would definitely be a cup shock if Spartans went up there and made it difficult and potentially went through. Ultimately, I think Jim Goodwin's side will have enough on the day. They managed to deal with Ayr in the previous round fairly convincingly in the end, as in performance, with a 2-0 victory. So I think that's one that could potentially be a banana skin, but I think Dundee United will be the ones that will go through.
Partick Thistle travelling to Elgin. Joelle, Mark Wilson might have to shuffle things around, loan players unavailable, but do you think he's got enough in his squad to get through to the next round?
Yeah, I think so. I think the quality within that Partick Thistle squad will certainly, you'd like to think, get them through to the next round. Elgin sitting 8th in League 2 at the moment, beat Camlin Juniors in the previous round. So up until this point, this will probably be their biggest game, toughest test of the season. However, they're going into it with on the back of a 3-0 draw with league leaders Spartans. So there'll be a bit of positive momentum there. However, you'd like to think that Partick Thistle have the quality and experience to see this one through.
Well, remember, your Saturday listening starts at 9 o'clock on Radio Scotland with The Saturday Show, where St Mirren's Supremo Keith Lasley is a guest, followed by Off the Ball at 12, and all the action on Sports Sound from 2 o'clock. Let's move on to Sunday. A Glasgow derby, different kind of Glasgow derby. Rangers hosting Queen's Park. Ryan, I think all the Rangers players and fans will be very aware of what happened the last time these sides met in this competition. Will that give Queen's Park an incentive of, we've done this once, let's do it again? We can do it again?
That's exactly what they'll be hoping for, deja vu, won't they? Same round of the Cup. I mean, it was an incredible achievement, what they did, and deserved it to go through. I just think it's different times. I feel Rowe he's galvanised that club. I mean, 3 points off top of the league. Who would have thought come the start of February that's where Rangers would be? It's incredible. They've got new signings in the building. There's a real positivity there. I feel Mikey Moore could be, obviously performed really well. Fans weren't really happy that he didn't start against Hibs a couple of games ago. I feel when you're going to play against a Queen's Park side that are going to be resolute, make it difficult, try and frustrate the home crowd, he's a player that I think needs to start the game to try and upset that low block that Queen's Park that they'll be facing against Queen's Park and try and open them up. Listen to interviews from the Queen's Park side. They've lost Josh Fowler and they've signed Todorov from us. But he's going to be cup tied. They've got a few other players cup tied that are unavailable. They've had a hard run of fixtures. I can't see it being the same. Hopefully there's that drama and upset, because that's exactly what everybody wants. Everyone will be favouring the underdog. But I think it's really going to be a tough ass second time around, and Rangers will be good to go.
Yeah, I think Stephen Smith said yesterday, he was doing the press conference, that there's still 6 or 7 players in that team who were there last time. Joelle, I suppose the players themselves will be feeling a bit better knowing that they've been on this good run with this manager who is not having as terrible a time as Russell Martin was having when that game kicked off.
Yeah, they absolutely will be. I think certainly going into this one in better form, in a better place all round as a club. And I think Ryan hit the nail on the head there. It's different times, different situations. So I think it should be an easy one for Rangers, given the quality they have. And I think Queen's Park will look to come and get the upset. Of course they will, but it's difficult when you're playing against a team that's very compact, sitting in a low block, getting everybody behind the ball. And I think Ryan said it, you need players that can unlock defences. And Mikey Moore, you've seen the impact he had instantly when he came on against Hibs. So I think picking the right team, respecting Queen's Park, respecting how they're going to come, set up and play, and choosing the right team to combat that and get the win. But different times, different approach to this one. So you'd like to think it's a comfortable Rangers win.
You would have thought so. And Ryan, you mentioned Mikey Moore. You think he should be starting. I wonder what you make of Tur Romans at left back. He was getting all the plaudits after their midweek game against Kilmarnock. Do you think Roll will be inclined to start, I suppose, him, maybe some of the new signings to give them a run out? Or do you think, given what happened last time, given, as you both say, Queen's Park are going to be really tough to break down, really tough to beat, he might want to go with tried and tested players who have played in Scotland for longer?
I think what Joe said is respecting them. I think that's the biggest part, is you respect them by playing a strong 11 that can go and sort of get that goal early, make the game so much easier. It'll be probably a mix of both. I mean, Romans was definitely deserving of the plaudits. I thought he was really impressive, energy, the way he drove forward, and he was always a threat in the attack, picking out players in the final third. So I think it could be a case of that. I think respecting Queen's Park, go strong. It could be a tried and tested to begin with, so there's no cup upset. And then if you get the job done early, then you can bring a few players in, give a tasty what it's like at Ibrox, and winning football matches, because that's ultimately what the task. No matter what happens, you have to win football matches.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final game, another derby, Stenhousemuir hosting Falkirk. Joelle, do you think this is just going to be another routine win for John McGlynn's side? They've just beaten Livy, a side that they've really struggled against in recent seasons, so they'll be boosted by that. It's probably just going to be a routine match for John McGlynn and his side.
Yeah, you'd think so. I think Falkirk have been so impressive this season. I think lots of key players playing a big part in their impressive run of form. Liam Henderson, Keelan Adams at the back, given that solid defensive foundation, and then you've got pace and creativity in Calvin Miller, and goals and threats in Barney Stewart. So I think it's another one of those ones. Respect the opposition. The surface won't matter, given they both play on the same surface week in, week out. That could have potentially been a leveller, or somewhat leveller for another team, but I think it would be a routine one for Falkirk. And again, just to double down, a team that has been super impressive this season. So yeah, I think John McGlynn will respect the opposition, play a strong or strongish team, and just look to get that cup progression under the belt there on Sunday.
Yeah, do you agree, Ryan? Do you think this will be kind of a routine performance for Falkirk?
Yeah, and I think it probably helps that there's a lot of players within that squad that have been in the lower leagues. It's not long ago that they were dominating League One and the Championship, so it won't be strange to a lot of players within that squad. They've obviously added some Premier League 2 players that are really catching the eye. Obviously, they've got top players there, and they're also making signings. They've made loan signings, but as signing permanent signings, obviously Parkinson delivering at Tynecastle in the last round. So at Falkirk, it's all going well. But it's one of the it's a local game. Gary Naismith won't want to make it as easy. They played Morton it's a 4-0 victory for Stenhousemuir, but it wasn't as clear as that. Morton had a lot of the ball, a lot of the chances. So Gary Naismith will be looking to just make it as awkward as possible for Falkirk, drag into deep end. George Buchanan at the back, he's been there, he's done that. Can he make it difficult? It'll be a big performance from him to keep the back door shut, to keep the communication high, so that Falkirk find the toughest possible game and it's not so free-flowing football that they want to play, and then just drag them into a real cup tie, and that's what they'll be hoping for. And Gary Naismith's side's going strong, their form's great in League One, so why not?
Well, you can see how all of those teams get on Sunday. You can hear Rangers v Queen's Park on Sportsound from 2 o'clock on Radio Scotland, and you can watch Stenhousemuir against Falkirk live on BBC Scotland from 7:15. Well, that is all we've got time for. Many thanks to Joelle and Ryan, and thank you for listening. Remember, we are here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on your phone. Enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy your weekend, and we will catch you again very soon.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.